When you hear the word flush, you probably think of a toilet, but I'm here to tell you that your water heater needs to be flushed every once in a while. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this episode of In the House. Let's go. In the House is an Any Hour Services podcast geared towards helping homeowners learn more about maintaining and repairing their homes. I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and I got Dave Harvey back in the studio with me. He's one of the owners of the Arizona Any Hour Services. So if you live in Arizona, Dave is the guy to know. Dave, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So like I said in the beginning, we're going to be talking about flushing your water heater. Now, how many people do you think know that they're supposed to flush their water heater?
I would say 0.5 out of 10.
That's half a person. That means one person might think about it every once in a while. All right, cool. So tell us, what does that even mean? What does it mean to flush your water heater?
Well, it's just a general maintenance of one of your major appliances in your house. It's an investment, and when we flush our water heaters, we just prolong the life of that water heater.
Right. So if you imagine the water coming from the city, it has dirt, sand, silt, different things like that. It's got minerals in it, and your water heater is like a big reservoir, right?
That's correct.
And those sand, dirt, silt, all that stuff, the minerals, they're harder than the water. They're heavier, and so when that water is just sitting there, that stuff floats down to the bottom.
Yes, and then as the water tank heats, it just creates more problems,
right?
Because with those minerals,
right? And so you got a couple of issues. Those minerals start to like clog things up. The stuff that's settling at the bottom is creating an insulated layer on the thing, causing it to work harder. So that stuff that's down at the bottom, when you go to flush it, what happens? Like, how are we actually fixing anything by flushing it?
Well, if we start when the tank's new and we can get that minerals flushed out, what it's going to do is it's going to prolong the life of the water heater, and it's going to just increase that efficiency. If you have a gas water heater and you don't do any maintenance on your water heater, and all that sediment goes down to the bottom, and then the burner comes on and it's got to heat through that mineral and before it gets to the water.
Right. Think about when you're wearing an oven mitt to get something hot out of the oven, right?
Yep.
You wear that because it's an insulated layer so you don't burn your hand. And all that stuff settling on the bottom is essentially an insulated layer, and your water heater has to run longer, work harder to actually get the heat to the water because it's going through all that insulation.
Yeah. Mike, I've seen water tanks here that in the Phoenix area that have been 5-6 years old with no maintenance, and 25% of that tank has been filled with sediment.
That's crazy how much that is. Well, here's the thing. When you flush it, like there's a spigot down at the bottom of the water heater, right?
Yes.
And so when you open that spigot, the water rushing out, because it's pressurized, when the water rushes out, it kind of helps to pull a lot of that sediment and stuff out through that opening, right?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yep. And what we like to do is we like to take those plastic, they call them drain down valves, out of those water heaters, and we put our own in. It's a full ported 3/4 inch hole.
Nice.
And so if there is quite a bit of sediment sitting in there, we're able to get it out.
Awesome. So, all right. So that's one of the benefits of flushing the water heater is that it's going to work better. It's going to heat the water more easily, right? I'm assuming it extends its lifespan.
It's going to last a lot longer. So
and this is something that a homeowner could technically do themselves, right?
They could if they start day one, flush that water heater at least once a year. Just with those plastic valves, they're not. They make that water go and make a little turn inside those valves, so they're not really efficient.
Right. So here's the thing. Flushing your water heater, if you actually look in the owner's manual for your water heater, the manufacturer actually puts in a section that talks about maintenance. And one of the things that it talks about is needing to flush that thing annually. And it talks about maybe even needing to do it, or the more often you need to do it depends on the quality of your water. And you were telling me that the water quality in Arizona, that it's really hard, talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's probably about twice the hardness of the rest of the country. So that hardness just makes our water tanks last half the life. A typical water heater with regular maintenance should last 15 to 20 years, and we're finding that when there's no maintenance on the tanks, that they last about 6 to 8 years.
How come they don't last that long? You were telling me that water heaters, like, to get a warranty on a tank is 6 years, right?
Yes.
But a tank should last longer than that. So how come that's how long they will warranty them for?
Well, the manufacturers know this. They know that if the maintenance isn't performed, that the tank's not going to last much longer than that 6 years.
How come it doesn't last?
Because of that sediment and just the system having to work a lot harder to heat that water. And whenever we're pretty much overheating the tanks. So I'll give you an example on a gas water heater. With that sediment at the bottom, the burner comes on. It has to heat that sediment. And then that sediment, what it does when it gets hot is it kind of boils up. Mm-hmm. And then that cooler water that should be heated first, now that goes down and hits the side of the tank, the metal jacket, and they call that thermal shock. And that's why all of a sudden you'll get a big leak in your water heater, is because that cold water hit that jacket, that metal jacket, and it's basically the walls thinned.
Wow. So now water heater manufacturers, you said that they know that people are probably going to forget and neglect the maintenance, right?
Yes.
But if you are maintaining it, they did do some things to help you prolong the life of that water heater, right?
Yeah, they've installed it's called an anode rod.
Anode rod?
An anode rod.
What is that?
That's a sacrificial piece of metal that goes inside the tank, and the minerals that come in our water every day, they'll attack that sacrificial rod first instead of sticking to the metal of the tank.
Right. And so, yeah, I like to... That's kind of how I explain it, is they put that thing in there so that it attacks that instead of the tank. But that sacrificial part, the anode rod, is designed to kind of eat away or be eaten away.
Yes.
But once it's gone.
It's gone.
Now it's going to start attacking the tank.
Yeah. And we recommend pulling those out every year, just taking a look at what that rod looks like during our annual inspection.
So flushing the water heater every year, checking the anode rod every year. Are there other things that get done every year on your water heater?
We check the water pressure coming in, of course,
okay.
Because that's a big factor. We flush them and check the anode rod, and with that being done every year, you should be good to go.
So now, having myself, I'm not a plumber by trade, but with the DIY videos and everything that I do, I have done so many things in the house, and flushing water heater is one of those.
Yes.
And I am here to say that flushing the water heater is something that I think that if you are comfortable screwing a water hose onto a spigot, you could probably do that yourself. But the anode rod, that's not an easy one to do yourself.
It's not. It takes a special wrench to get that off, and
right.
It takes a lot of strength.
Yes.
These guys usually have power tools to take these off.
Right. And so if you're trying to be proactive and get your water heater to last as long as possible, I do think that going a step beyond just flushing it, if you were just to flush it once a year, that's more than most everyone does.
That's correct.
But if you're really wanting to go that extra mile and get it to last as long as possible, which is why you're probably flushing it, you need to know about that anode rod and have that thing checked. How often are anode rods how often do they probably need to be replaced?
Depending on the hardness of the water in the Phoenix area, we're seeing that they should be replaced every 2 to 3 years. We're replacing an anode rod.
Gotcha. So an anode rod, if you flush the water heater, you can kind of see sediment coming out. But an anode rod isn't something you can check without depressurizing the thing, draining a little bit of water, cracking that thing open up top and getting it to come out, right?
That's exactly how it's done.
Right. And so you can't place eyes on it and see it unless you actually go through all of those steps. Now, you were saying that you do that as part of plumbing inspection, right?
Yeah, part of our annual inspection. That's what we'll do is we'll ask permission first with the homeowner, and we'll ask them if they want to have us pull that out at no cost, and we'll inspect as part of the inspection.
Right. Now, what do you guys normally charge to come out and do something like that?
Normally, to do a water heater flush and pull the anno rod's $129.
Wow. And so you were telling me that you were thinking about doing a deal for, I probably should have checked with you before instead of just bringing it up on the air.
Yep.
But yeah, now you're in it. Now you're in it, Dave. You were saying that you were thinking about doing a deal for anyone listening to the podcast.
Yeah, for anybody that refers to this podcast, we'd be happy to come out for $29, and we'll go ahead and do that inspection of that water heater. We'll flush it. We'll pull that anno rod.
Wow. So if you're in the Arizona market, go to anyhourservices.com, find their number, whatever you got to do to like get a hold of them. Tell them that Dave said that he was giving you a deal.
The water heater flush special.
The water heater flush special from the In the House podcast. $29.
$29.
That seems like a great deal. $29 to get your water heater to last longer. That seems great. Now in Arizona, I also know that like there is a time of year when your water heater is working harder, right?
Yeah, and that usually happens right around October. You know, right now these tanks are sitting kind of dormant because most of them are in the garages, and the garages are hot right now. They're 105, 110 degrees most of the time in that garage. So what happens is we get a run on calls first part of October where our guys are just busy going out and taking care of problems with water heaters.
So water heaters, so you guys get busy. Water heaters will start to have more issues when it starts to get colder in the garages and the water heaters are working harder.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Like, I would say if you're the type of person that likes to be proactive and you're trying to like get on top of the maintenance and stuff before it's going to be an issue, like I personally don't think there's ever a bad time to like perform maintenance on a piece of equipment, because it's more important to have it done than to like forget and not have it done. So if it happens to be, you know, December and you're hearing this, like, get it done. Don't just wait for the summer, but like a summer seems like a really good time to be proactive and get this done, because like plumbing companies might not be as busy, right? It might be easier to get somebody out.
Yeah, our guys are definitely a lot busier October on than they are right now.
Gotcha. So anyway, if you're in the Arizona market and you're hearing this, give Any Hour Services a call. Get that water heater taken care of. Get the maintenance done. Anything else you feel like people, I mean, that sounds pretty basic. Flush it, check the anode rod. Is there any other major thing that you feel like people need to know about flushing their water heater?
No, I just think I think we got it covered, and you know, something simple as this could take that tank from a 6 to 8 year life expectancy out to 20.
That's awesome. So if you're going to try it yourself, do some research, watch the videos, make sure you're being safe, shut the thing off. Don't like open up that thing while it's still pressurized, you know, take the steps to do that. But at any point, I always say this in all my DIY videos, if you ever feel like you've gotten in over your head, or you see somebody do it and you're like, I don't think I want to try that, take the time, call somebody that you know, that you trust, to come out and take care of that. Dave's already said he's going to save you some money and do it for $29. So I don't even know that it'd be worth the headache of trying. Like, have Dave's guys do it.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Those that are listening, watching, thanks so much for your attention. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, whatever you need to do to make sure that you get notified next time we release a new episode of In the House. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. I've been your host, Mike Wilson, and you've been listening to In the House. See ya.